new style micro pulley cables right here. We're gonna be unboxing it. Let's see what's inside or what comes in the box. Gonna want a box cutter because you're gonna need to open your box and all your micro pieces are wrapped up in bubble. This right here is one side of your pulley cable, some hardware. Other side of your pulley cable right here, a spring bracket, a new one you'll be installing onto your micro. The other side of the spring bracket, and this is your bracket for your back platform on your micro or just the back of your micro itself. So we don't need this box anymore. Now let's unwrap it and see what it actually looks like. This is what it looks like for your micro pulley cables out of the box, unwrapped. Here we have your new style of your spring brackets you'll be installing onto your machine. You're gonna be using the same hardware right here. One side, other side. And your new style micro pulley cables with a new pulley system and a new look, left and right. So here we have our microformer with our back platform. We're gonna be installing our micro pulley cables onto our machine. In order to do that, we need to change out the spring bracket to the micro pulley cable bracket and take our carriage off. To take our carriage off, we're gonna need to take off our back platform. To make it easier for yourself, you can flip your machine on its side to access your 4 screws to remove. And we're gonna be using a 532 Allen. So we're gonna remove all of our screws. And our last screw, and hold your platform in place so it doesn't fall. Remove the last screw. Set your platform to the side. Now you can drop your microformer machine so it's flat. Careful with your fingers. And now we can remove our micro carriage from the rail. And we're gonna change out our spring brackets to the micro pulley brackets. To install your new micro pulley cables, you'll only be needing 2 tools, a 532 Allen and a 10mm wrench. So now that we have our carriage out of our micro, we're gonna be changing out the spring bracket to install the new style for your micro pulley cables to be attached, and you'll be using your 10mm wrench to remove your hardwares. And you're gonna hang on to these once you take them off because you'll be using them to install your new spring bracket. And remember the order of your hardware, which will be a nut, washer, and screw. There's one. Set these aside, hold on to it, and proceed to your other hardware. Once you loosen it enough with your wrench, you can finish using your fingers and install it by hand. And again, hang on to this hardware. You'll be using it right away. Set your other bracket aside. You won't be needing it. Now we have our other spring bracket, and this one, make sure when you install to have the springs facing outwards, just like the previous one. Lining up the holes for the hardware, and make sure your ring is outside to attach your pulley cables. So line it up, hold it in place, put the screw in, and make sure the square is lined up. Hold it in place, use your washer and your nut for the outside. You can tighten it as much as possible by hand. What you can do is place both inside to hold your cables in place, your spring bracket in place. Use your washer, nut, tighten as much as possible by hand, and again use your 10mm to tighten the rest. And you can repeat this process for the other side. So we got one side of our spring bracket installed already. We're going to repeat the same process for our new spring bracket on the other side. So start by loosening your hardware as much as you can using your wrench. Finish with your hands. Save your hardware. And repeat same process for the other side. Finish by hand. Set this aside. And again, you can set this bracket off to the side. You won't be needing it anymore. And again, reminder with your new spring bracket for your micro pulley cables, make sure the springs are facing out. You line up your holes with your carriage and your ring is facing towards the outside to attach your micro pulley cables. So let's install the new spring bracket. Hold your screw in place, grab your other hardware. Remember the washer and nut. Tighten as much as possible by your hands. And I like to place both hardwares in right away so you don't have trouble installing. Now we can finish tightening with our wrench. And hand tighten comfortably enough. And now you got your new spring brackets installed for your micro pulley cables. Now we're gonna put it back onto our microformer. Now that we have our spring bracket back on our micro carriage, we're gonna be placing it back onto our machine. Now we can roll it back on. Place some springs so your carriage doesn't move. And now that we have our platform free, we can leave it in place to install our micro pulley brackets using the slots and the holes in our platform. So we're going to be installing our micro pulley brackets onto our back platform, and when you install, make sure they're on the right side or else your slots for your hardware will not align. So these are your outside ones. So now we can flip our platform upside down to make it easier to install our micro pulleys. So we can line them up, grab your 532 T handle with your hardware and your L bracket for the inside, and make sure this flat is facing the outside of the platform and the curved is going inside. So now we can place our hardware through the slot. Tighten a little bit just to hold the place of the bracket. And do the same thing for the outside. Since our other one is holding our place, we can fully tighten and finish the other side as well. We got one side down, now we repeat the same process for the other side. So we put our screw in to hold our L bracket. And we can finish tightening all the way. And finish with our other screw. Now that we have both our spring of our micro pulley cables brackets installed onto our platform, we can now flip it right side up and install directly onto our microformer. So now that we have our micro pulley cable brackets on our back platform, we can flip our microformer on its side again to make it easy for us to install. And we can align our holes for our platform to connect to our microformer and place the screws in place. There's one, there's two, three, and the last one, four. And we finished tightening, almost done installing micro pulley cables. We use our 532 Allen, nice and secure. So now that we installed our micro pulley brackets on both sides of our back platform, we can now drop it down and finish installing onto our carriage. And you can bring your handle out, untangle, and use this carabiner and attach it to our ring for our carabiner on the carriage. Here's one side. And this last side. Now you completed setting up your micro pulley cables.